Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of 5 Favorite Box Sets. So most of you know that I've got a really large CD collection, over 11,000, but I've also got over 200 box sets. And while I typically focus on the individual album, you see a lot of those things that I do. For this series here, I thought I would focus on my mini box sets and run through some of my most favorite ones. And in this case, we are going to focus on career spanning box sets. But before we get into that, if you are new to my channel and haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this, with 5 Favorite Box Sets, Career Spanning Edition. All right, so what makes a good box set, right? For me at least, it's a variety of material, things like alternate takes and demos, B-sides, outtakes, live, and so forth. You know, something that is not just hits only. Also, there being something, special for the hardcore fans, that being like unreleased material. And, if it has a book and memorabilia or anything of that nature with it, that's just a bonus to it. So let's go ahead and jump into this. All right, so first one up here, Deep Purple, Shades of Deep Purple, 1968 to 1998. This one here, beautifully done. If you notice on the way that back is, that's because it opens like this, so it's a little different than other box sets. I also like how the discs are protected like that, and you've got something visual to look at here, and then there's a book in this, and I will show you that in just a little bit. But this one here, spanning 30 years, now of course from 1998 when it stopped the material that went into that to present day in 2022, 24 years old. So you're going to see from this one here and the other ones that are going to be shown, they were career spanning at the time, but obviously most of these bands have continued on, and so they aren't career spanning as of today. But when these came out, they were beautifully done collections that span the whole career, and that's really what we're focusing on. So this one here, 62 tracks on it. They run in chronological order, something from every album, every lineup is on here. I'm not always a fan of chronological order, but if it's done right, meaning the type of tracks that are chosen and put on it, and it's not just the hits, then for me that works. So in this case, 23 rarities, more than 1/3 of this box set is rarities. So pretty cool stuff there. Also, now some of these that are being called rarities have been released on other things, other collections or live albums that are since out of print. You might have these if you're the diehard, but at the time when I bought this, I only owned a couple albums. So I was relatively new into this, and it was great to get all of those different rarities from out of print things and stuff of that nature. Now, of course, this does contain hits and single versions, the deep cuts, that kind of stuff, but it's also got alternate takes, remixes, demos, B-sides. Most importantly, it's got a bunch of outtakes on it, unreleased tracks like that. And then it's got some live versions on here too. Of course, ones you would expect, from Made in Japan and stuff like that, but it's also got some other ones on here as well. So disc 1, 17 tracks. There are 11 rarities on that first one. It's the most filled disc on here. Disc 2, 16 tracks with 3 rarities. Disc 3, 15 tracks, 3 more rarities. And disc 4, 14 tracks, 6 rarities on that. And as I said, what I really like are the unreleased songs, the outtakes, the studio ones, best on here than the other things. So lots of that included in here. And so the book is also like the box set itself, opening up in the same width way, right? Most of these things operate like this, but it was a very different thing to get one like this, and just very cool. You can fit a lot on the page when you open it up this way. And it goes track by track in here. It's got a great history, up till this point and so forth. My favorite thing was just the fact that it covered all their lineups. They've since released a best of 3 CD set that does a similar thing to that, and it does go all the way up to present day at that time, so a little more comprehensive, not a box set, but this one at the time I really, really enjoyed. All right, next box set to talk about here, Aerosmith Pandora's Box, 1991, one of the first box sets ever released. There's been a single disc best of highlights that was released from this, but otherwise this one here being a 3 CD set, which is now 31 years old. So these things are getting up there in their years. I think this one is even still available, but it's been resized in the double-sized jewel case, as opposed to it being in the box like this, which we'll get into and take a look inside in just a minute. It spans from 1971 to 1982 in terms of Aerosmith stuff that's on here. But there's also some solo material included. It's got a Steven Tyler song from a pre-Aerosmith band, The Strangers, called When I Needed You from 1966. So it goes back even further, but that's solo Steven Tyler, not Aerosmith. Brad Whitford's solo material when he was part of Whitford St. Holmes, Derek St. Holmes coming from Ted Nugent Band, Sharpshooter 1981, and Joe Perry solo material from the Joe Perry Project, South Station Blues 1981 on here. So pretty cool that they went ahead and did that and covered those guys. The other two, Joey Kramer, Tom Hamilton, don't have solo material, otherwise I'm sure they would have gotten something on here as well. And so featuring 52 tracks, somewhat chronological order, but not quite. They do have a song from every album on here, 23 rarities on this one as well. So very nice high number there in that. This one's of course got hits and album cuts as well, but we got alternate versions, instrumental takes, remixes, outtakes, some rehearsal versions, and live stuff on here as well. Disc 1 has 15 tracks with 7 rarities. Disc 2, 18 tracks with 7 rarities. And Disc 3, 19 tracks with 9 rarities. So nicely, evenly spaced out amongst the regular albums cuts and the rarities that are on here. And so this box set is the old lift top style box like that, nothing on the inside. And then right under it, we get the big book. And this is the more typical one. This is what I was just talking about on the previous, where the book opens in this fashion, right? So just give you an idea of what is in here, but it's got a good write-up, and then it does, track by track commentary in here, which is pretty nice, giving you all the information about it and so forth. A lot of great photos in this. What I also like though about these old style ones is it's got the CDs in jewel cases, so individually done jewel cases, track listing on back of these things. No booklet to speak of, but it still has the insert and so forth in it. And so yeah, there you go. Not going to pull all those out because they're all basically the same, but that gives you an idea for that. All right, next one up, Journey. Time 3 or Time Cubed, depending upon how you want to say it. I think it's Time Cubed would be, the real way to say that. So 1992 release. This one here, now 30 years old, having a 30th anniversary this year. There is a single disc promo from it, not released commercially, but if you want to hunt that down, and I have done a review of that on my channel because I love my promo items. So this one here, 3 CD set spanning 1975 to 1986, so 11 years from the original period of the band before Steve Perry up through the original era to 86. Does not include the 1996 reunion going forward. Obviously this came out in 1992, but that's where I'm saying that, these things at the time, this was a true career spanning collection, but it's now 30 years old and they've since reunited and had a number of other singers and so forth. And I really do hope a lot of these bands get box sets, especially for their 50th anniversary, if not sooner, and for other reasons. 55 tracks on here total. Chronological order, something from every album, 16 rarities, not as many as those other boxes we were just talking about. Again, it does contain the hits and album cuts, but it's got some alternate versions, outtakes, B-sides. What it's got a lot of on here is soundtrack recordings. And so since those songs did not appear on albums outright, getting them on here is really great, and it's a nice way to finally have them. It'd be great if they actually collected all their soundtrack recordings up with some of these unreleased tunes and released just an album like that. And you get some live recordings on here as well. So disc 1, 18 tracks, and it's got 5 rarities. Disc 2 is another 18 tracks, only 1 rarity on that one. And then disc 3, 19 tracks, but 10 rarities. So it's the third disc, the later era of the band, that you get most of the rarities and stuff. And then you can see on the back. And I like, again, these old box sets because they say the track, the album it comes from, and or the fact that it's a previously unreleased recording, and you get all that info right there. Now again, lift top style box, like the other ones we're showing you. This was the standard style box back in the day. Book on the top of this thing. And again, like the Aerosmith one, the way that it's done, you get some great photos. Not as much in terms of the write-up. You can see it's really more photos than written stuff, but it covers the great history, beautiful photos on this thing. And just again, you know, the box sets, when, you know, these things are kept around and so forth, you get the, there you go, you get the full album, you know, cover, because you only see that from the one side of this thing. But this one here also has the jewel cases in it, and so you get each one with the full track listing and whatnot. Let's open this up, and you get a little black and white version on the inside there. But each disc has a slightly different cover on it based on the album art, which is cool. All right, so let's put that aside and let's jump into the next one here. ELO Flashbook, Electric Light Orchestra, 2000. So this one here is actually one of the newest. We'll see about the next one when I grab it in just a minute. 22 years old still, even though it's one of the newer ones here. So 3 CD box set spanning 1971 to 1986. Up to this point, the band had not reunited. They were getting ready to in 2001, or at least Jeff Lynne, because he was really the only one involved at that point. 53 tracks on this, though, somewhat chronological. Again, not quite. There's some stuff a little out of sequence on here. Not sure why that happens when, generally speaking, a box set is in chronological order, why you will suddenly have a couple tracks that aren't. Whether it had to do with, in some cases, it's a live recording, and I understand the live version of an older track came later due to the date of the live recording, but the track itself, which comes from a particular album, should have been a few tracks up in the mix. But there's other stuff on here. There's some demos and some outtakes and stuff that they place towards the end, but they're not the date that they were actually recorded. So that's why I'm saying somewhat chronological on these. It features 13 rarities on here, and again, containing hits and album cuts, but they've got B-sides, outtakes, alternate versions, single versions, new edits. There's also some new versions where he went in and re-recorded a bunch of stuff as far as these go, to make them more of what he always wanted them to be. Jeff Lynne has been doing that in the last 20 years, give or take. They're excellent versions. Don't think of them as like standard re-recordings. Jeff Lynne is an amazing producer and production quality, and he's made these things sound beautiful to the point that I like some of the newer versions better than I like the older versions. So not many of these are done that way, but there is that on here. So if you're a fan like me looking for that difference, I own all the albums, right? So when I buy a box set like this, getting a new version re-recorded is fine by me because I've got the original to go back to. Disc 1 has 16 tracks with 4 rarities, Disc 2 16 tracks, 2 rarities, and Disc 3 21 tracks with 7 rarities. Now this one is a book style box, and I'm going to start by opening it up and showing you the whole thing. So you get the full album cover, which I think is fantastic. And then we'll open it this way, like the book that you're supposed to. You get 2 of the discs up front, and then the book itself is actually part of it with the spine, the last disc there. Wish they had done something here instead of just leaving it blank, but it is what it is. And so then with the booklet, you get some great photos in there, and you get information on everything that's within this, some track by track and so forth. I don't believe there is a history. There's a little bit of a history that was at the beginning of this, but you get most of the stuff about the information on the tracks and whatnot in the back of this thing, and just some cool photos and things of that nature in it. All right, so let's put that one down. Let's go to the last one here. So this one's actually the newest of them. I'm seeing Yes in a Word And when they did this, see, they started as 1969, put a dash and left a blank because they're saying, you know, we're still going, and look, they're still going more than 50 years later here. This came out in 2002, so 20 years old now on this one here. There is a single disc promo edition of this that collected up some of these if you want to hunt that down. And this one here, 5 CD set spanning 1969 to 2001, and it features 61 tracks on here, chronological order, something from every album and every lineup, including the Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe period, which really was, yes, just under another name. It has 7 rarities, so not as many as these other box sets, but nice to get a full collection. Look, it takes 5 CDs for them to do something like this because their tracks are so long. Of course, we've got the hits, we've got the deep album cuts, we've also got some single edits and versions. We've got a few outtakes on here, which was great to finally get a hold of, some alternate versions. No live tracks on this, though. For a band that is so tied into that jam of the live, I was surprised there were no live ones, but that's because a few years later they released a 3 CD set of all live. I think it's called The Word Is Live. So, and they maybe had been intending on putting out a box set of just live recordings. Disc 1, 13 tracks with no rarities on that one. Disc 2, 6 tracks because they're all long songs, no rarities on that one. Disc 3 has a total of 11 tracks with 1 rarity. Then disc 4, 15 tracks, 5 rarities, and disc 5, 10 tracks with 1 rarity on it. And so this one here also vertical, like the book style. You get all of the track listing on the back side here, and it does tell you whether it's a previously unreleased recording or not. I always love the Roger Dean artwork. That in and of itself makes these worthwhile. When you open it up, the CDs are back here in this part. The book is in this, and see if I can grab it and pull it out. There we go. And it just slides right out of the top, and I'll thumb through that in just a second. And then the CDs are individually done, but you keep getting a little bit more of Roger Dean's artwork on this. So we start with this, we get this inside, then we get this next image, and then we get the last 3 discs, and we get a full picture of the Roger Dean artwork that hasn't been edited down for that. So very cool there. And of course, the book. And this one here has a nice, densely written history of the band, full of all kinds of great stuff that's in here, with tons and tons of photos. This is a Rhino Records one. Again, Rhino Records always does them right, in my opinion. They just know what the fans want. Look how many photos are crammed into that. So beautifully done, put together, in my opinion, and definitely one of my favorites of all the box sets. And so there you go, 5 favorite box sets of mine dealing with, you know, career spanning packages, at least again, career spanning packages at the time. Certainly do check the description for links to related videos, in particular the last episode on this. I will leave some of the individual reviews that I've done for this. I've got ones for 4 of these: Deep Purple, the Aerosmith, the Journey, and the Yes. All 4 of those box sets have had individual reviews, so I will leave links in the description below. All right, everyone, have a great day. Take care, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.